Why is it that so many loving relationships eventually lose their spark, leaving both partners feeling disconnected and wondering if something's fundamentally broken? You remember how it used to be? The butterflies, the anticipation before seeing each other, that electric feeling when your hands touch, the long conversations that made time disappear. And now? Now you might find yourselves going through the motion, the same routines, the same conversations, the same predictable patterns that once felt comforting but now feel confining. You're not alone in this experience. This quiet drift happens in countless relationships, even the good ones, even the ones built on real love and genuine compatibility. Think about it. The relationship that once felt like your greatest adventure now sometimes feels like your most reliable habit. The person who once seemed endlessly fascinating now feels familiar, completely known, and there's a voice in your head asking, is this just what happens? Is this inevitable? Or is there something wrong with us? That question, that doubt, it sits heavy in your chest, doesn't it? It creates a fog of uncertainty that can make even the most committed relationship feel suddenly fragile. But here's what I've learned. The fading of passion isn't a verdict. It's not evidence that you chose wrong or that your relationship is failing. It's simply a natural evolution, a crossroad. And today, I want to share 3 genuine ways to reignite the passion in your relationship. Not through gimmicks or games, not through temporary fixes that fade as quickly as they appear, but through authentic reconnection that addresses the real psychology behind why passion fades in the first place. When we first fall in love, our brains are flooded with dopamine and norepinephrine, chemicals that create feelings of exhilaration and focus. Everything about our partner seems novel and exciting. Their quirks are endearing, their stories are captivating, but our brains aren't designed to maintain that state indefinitely. Over time, the relationship transitions from passionate love to what psychologists call companionate love, a deeper bond characterized by commitment, intimacy, and mutual support. This transition is normal. But in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with romantic narratives that emphasize perpetual passion, many of us interpret this natural evolution as failure. We think, if we were really right for each other, wouldn't we still feel that initial excitement? The answer is no, at least not without conscious effort, because passionate love isn't just about the right person. It's about certain psychological conditions that we unconsciously create in the beginning of relationship, conditions that we can deliberately recreate even years into a committed partnership. This brings us to our first strategy for rekindling passion: reintroduce novelty and unpredictability. One of the key reasons early relationships feel so exciting is the element of surprise. You're constantly discovering new things about each other, experiencing new situations together, navigating uncertainty. As relationships mature, predictability increases. And while predictability creates security, an essential component of a healthy relationship, too much predictability dampens desire. Research has shown that couples who regularly engage in novel and exciting activities together report significantly higher relationship satisfaction. The neurochemical response to novelty mimics the experience of early attraction. But here's where many couples go wrong. They think rekindling passion requires grand gestures, expensive vacations, complete relationship overhauls. The reality is much more accessible. Small injections of novelty can have profound effects. Try this. Once a week, take turns planning an experience the other person doesn't expect. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Maybe it's trying a completely different cuisine, taking an impromptu drive to watch the sunset, learning a new skill together. The key is breaking routine patterns in ways that create shared discovery. Another powerful approach: change your questions. Most couples fall into conversational ruts, asking the same questions day after day. How was work? What do you want for dinner? Instead, try asking questions that invite deeper reflection. What made you laugh today? What's something you've been thinking about lately that we haven't discussed? These questions signal that you still want to discover your partner, that they aren't completely known, that they can still surprise you. This brings us to our second strategy: restore healthy space and independence. This might seem counterintuitive. If you want to feel closer, shouldn't you spend more time together, not less? Not necessarily. One of the paradoxes of passionate relationships is that desire thrives in the space between people. When we can see our partner as separate and autonomous, with their own thoughts, interests, and experiences, we reconnect with the mystery that attracted us initially. Think about the early days of your relationship. Remember how fascinating it was to learn about your partner's life before you, their passions, their experiences, their perspectives. Over time, many couples unconsciously merge their identity. They stop pursuing independent interests. They become so intertwined that they lose the psychological distance necessary for desire. As relationship therapist Esther Perel puts it, fire needs air. Passion requires space to breathe. This doesn't mean creating artificial distance or withdrawing emotionally. It means consciously cultivating your own identity within the relationship. maintaining friendships, pursuing interests, having experiences that are yours alone to bring back to the partnership. When you return to each other after pursuing individual passions, you bring new energy, new stories, new perspectives. You become more interesting to each other simply by virtue of having lived separately for a time. Try this. Identify one passion or interest you've neglected since your relationship began, something that once lit you up but has fallen by the wayside. Commit to reclaiming that part of yourself, not as a rejection of your relationship, but as an enrichment of what you bring to it. Simultaneously, encourage your partner to do the same. Show genuine interest in their independent experiences. This leads to our third and perhaps most transformative strategy: vulnerability and conscious risk-taking. Many stale relationships aren't just lacking novelty or space, they're lacking emotional risk. They've become too safe. I don't mean physical safety or emotional security. Those are essential foundations. I mean that many couples stop revealing themselves to each other. They stop sharing their evolving thoughts, desires, fears, and fantasies. They stop having conversations that make them feel vulnerable or exposed. Often, this happens because we fear judgment or rejection. We worry that expressing our authentic needs might disturb the relationship's equilibrium, so we stay in comfortable territory, discussing practicalities, sharing anecdotes, keeping things light. But passion thrives on emotional risk, on the willingness to be truly seen, even when it feels frightening. Think about the conversations you had when your relationship was new. You probably shared your dreams, your insecurities, your hopes. There was an exhilarating vulnerability to those exchanges. That kind of revelation doesn't have to stop as relationships mature. In fact, it becomes even more powerful when built on a foundation of proven trust and commitment. Try this. Create a regular practice of sharing something you've never expressed before: a desire, a fear, a fantasy, a question you've been afraid to ask. Start small if this feels intimidating. The goal isn't to manufacture dramatic revelation, but to practice the art of continuing to unfold yourself to your partner and creating space for them to do the same. When your partner shares something vulnerable, receive it with presence and curiosity rather than immediate problem solving or judgment. Ask questions that help them elaborate. Show appreciation for their willingness to open up. This practice alone can transform a stagnant relationship, because ultimately, passion isn't just about excitement or novelty. It's about the thrill of continuing discovery, the sense that there are still territories of your partner and yourself yet to be explored. As we wrap up, I want to acknowledge that rekindling passion isn't a one-time effort. It's an ongoing practice, a continuous choice to see your relationship not as a completed project, but as a living entity that requires regular nurturing. The strategies we've discussed, introducing novelty, restoring healthy independence, and practicing vulnerability, aren't quick fixes. They're invitations to a deeper understanding of what creates and sustains desire in long-term relationships. Your relationship hasn't lost its potential for passion. It's simply entered a new phase that requires a different kind of engagement, one where excitement isn't automatic, but is instead created through conscious choice and authentic connection. So tonight, look at your partner with fresh eyes. Recognize that despite years together, they remain in many ways a mystery, a separate being with depths you've yet to explore. And in that recognition, feel the first spark of rekindled desire, the awareness that the greatest adventure may not be behind you, but still unfolding day by day.